This morning, I woke up and I took a shower and I made up my mind I didn't want to do it like last week. I'm still dealing with weakness about watching too much television. So I made a commitment that I'm reading certain books of things that I want to improve on my life. Like, for instance, I want to improve my skills of praying. So I got this book right here. Let me get the name. Okay, it's about a prayer. Okay, it's about prayer, but the only problem is, it's like every time I would start praying, or every time I want to do something, and I would get the book to read it, and I would start reading it, and other things would get underway. And so I made this commitment after watching this other YouTube video about this gentleman. He mentioned about how you can read one book a week. And I used to do that when I was going to the university, where what I would do, since I had to read a whole chapter, a chapter would be like 40 pages of accounting, and I would sit down and I would calculate how many pages I needed to read. And then I would just position myself and focus my mind, and I would just keep on reading, keep on reading, keep on reading until I was done. And if I needed to take a break, and then I would mark off the page where I stopped. But I would make a commitment to keep on reading until I finish reading that chapter. But there are other books I'm reading, like, for instance, this book about prayer, and then I have this other book. It's called The Power of Habits. And this one I kind of set it aside, but I should have done the same thing. But that's the way I'm going to start doing, because I'm tired of reading books halfway. I want to completely read the whole book through, and I have done that with quite a few of my books. But I have a lot of books that I have read halfway or one third of the way, and I'm gonna put a stop at that, because the only way you will know that you have acquired the information that you read in the that's supposed the book is supposed to promise, is that you take the time and read the whole entire book. And if that information was really good information, you can go back and reread the book again, and you take notes at this time. But if I'm reading the book halfway, and you have this feeling that there's something that is incomplete, something that you're missing because you didn't finish reading the book. So I'm making this commitment from now on. When I start reading a book, I'm going to do whatever it takes to finish reading it. I'm not going to take my time just reading a few pages or 10 pages here and there. No, I'm going to divide that book, and I give myself 5 days. Because I found out in the past, if I don't do that, and I would start reading the book, it would take me a whole month to read it. But if I read it in 5 days, because sometimes I would see that the whole week would go by and I would not even read a book at all. And then there have been times where it would take me 2 or 3 months before I even read anything, or I would just go and read a couple pages here and there, when I could have just read the whole book in just 1 week. Just calculate how many pages the book has, and then divide it by 5 or by 7, and just sit down. It doesn't take long to read 20 pages. It doesn't, or 30 or 40 pages. Especially if you're reading a book that has about like 197 pages, and if it's divided in less than a week. Some people will read a book in one day. One time I did that. I read a whole entire book in one day. In one day. And there was another time I read in 2 days. So reading a book in 5-7 days, 20, 30 pages a day is nothing. That's the only way we can change our lives, by learning and taking action.